Hey guys, HuShang here. Welcome to another Starcraft 2 lesson. In this guide, we're going to be looking at a Terran versus protoss game I played. It's against a 5k protoss named Maverick. So pretty high level game here. I really like this game from a teaching perspective because it showcases a pretty extreme to one side of what protoss can do in the game. So there's a standard way of teching, like you tech as much as you can as protoss, and then you make units to defend. So you kind of maximize how much you can tech without dying. And then sometimes at these mid ranges of play, you'll find that protoss are teching either too much or they're not teching enough. And so you kind of want to figure out which side of that line they're towing to figure out what you should be doing. So we're going to cover this more in my How to Defeat Protoss series. But this is a really nice game. The protoss is actually making way too many units and not teching enough. And I think this is probably the most common way that people are losing TVPs, is because they're pushing into someone who's like completely all in almost. And I think there's a pretty weak understanding of where that line is as well for most players, because it feels like protoss is really far ahead of you in workers when they aren't necessarily. So we'll talk about that more when we get there. I'm playing the safe TVP build order, or rather the beginner Terran build order. And this isn't necessarily like a really strong build at this level of play, but what I wanted to do in this game was create a good example replay for the powering guide I did yesterday. And so we're not really going to get ahead with this build, but it's going to be nice for learning what to do properly in this matchup. It's kind of just a clean way to get into the mid game. I recommend it a lot for beginners because you basically can't die to anything, or at least you have all the tools to defend everything. But yeah, it's just a really nice way to learn the proper responses to the different things you scout, and not really have to worry too much about multitasking and defending stuff. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out, because I had a lot of students ask me recently, and in the YouTube membership group, were asking me like, I can't make enough Marines here, what's going on? And it's really important with this build, I'm just gonna click over here, is you rally into the gas instead of pulling everybody off, because this build's pretty mineral heavy. And so if you don't rally into the gas, you just pull off right away, then you're not gonna have quite enough minerals, and you're gonna have to cut some Marines earlier than you want. So make sure you do that with this build if you have the APM. You can also see that I didn't build any bunker. And this is totally fine. As long as you're playing on a ramp map, you can just skip the bunker. If you don't skip the bunker, then you can't make continuous Marines anyways. So you kind of trade the bunker for 2 more Marines. Now he came in here with an Oracle, which was pretty shocking to be honest. He got a couple kills, but honestly, Oracles are pretty trash these days. I never play Oracle with protoss because since the nerf, which was quite a while ago actually, they just kind of don't do very much. So just pull your SCVs away, send them back. Once you get the Viking out, it's defended pretty easily, so not a big deal. And then now he doesn't have any tech that he wants, like his blink is just starting here in the production tab, when normally it'd be finishing at like 5 minutes. So really far behind with the blink now, so I'd trade 2 SCVs for that all day. And you know, whenever they play Stargate, it's super nice. You don't have to deal with like, you know, they're not playing Dark Templar. You don't really have to worry about any all-ins. They pretty much have to take a 3rd base. So we're pretty chill right now, relaxed. We get to snipe this Oracle too, which is pretty nice. You could do a push right here if you wanted. Like if I had an SCV out on the map and I saw that he was expanding pretty early. Maybe not in this game actually, but if you saw like a Oracle into 4-minute expansion, you could definitely do like a 1-1-1 push against that. Would be quite strong. But since we are trying to get a good replay for powering, I'm just going to move these buildings over, get my rack set up. And just prepare for that 1-1-1 or the 3-1-1 push. So my game plan is to get all these upgrades finished up, hit a nice strong timing on Protoss's third, and yeah, and make sure he's not getting too greedy. So we're fully saturated on 2 bases, which is exactly when we want to stop, so that we can power out a lot of bio units. Prepare for our push. So this is like the first form of aggressive powering, if you watched the guide from yesterday. He sneaks an adept in here, but you know, who's trapped with who right now? And I'm going to be playing tank bio. So there's a lot of different ways you could power up here. A lot of different styles you could play, but my plan in this game is to try out Ghost Tank. So that's what we're going to be playing. It might even be my recommended composition in the future for like mid-tier players. We'll get back to that. That's a pretty important scan because I see that he's fully saturated. I'm actually even going to pause it. This is a really important moment because a lot of Terrans, I think, will see this and be like, oh, fuck, my third, not even finished. I'm super screwed in this game. But that's definitely not the case, because what has to happen in this period is once you do this push, Protoss can't be probing, and they have to like catch back up to you in army supply. So like the current position right here is actually not bad for Terran at all. It's totally fine. Like you actually don't even need to push this. Even though it seems like you're behind, you're totally not. So seeing that many probes and him not having his gases actually is telling me I don't need to push him here. So I'm just gonna chill. And if you don't believe me, we'll we'll watch the rest of the game. Actually, also, if I check out Protoss, what they're doing, you can see that Protoss has no upgrades. And so part of the problem he's going to run into in a second is just that he's not teching as fast as he's supposed to be. And whenever they play like this, which is really common, I think, whenever they play like this, if you push too early, you're going to get smashed and it's going to feel like Protoss is OP. But actually, you're just making like a massive blunder. That's not easy to realize, I think. So instead of pushing there, I waited quite a bit, like another whole minute, and now I'm pushing, which is actually really, really important. Like those extra units that we got in the last minute are going to completely switch this next fight. So he tries to fight me, but you know, our upgrades finished up. We got the +1 attack. And he just gets completely obliterated. I could have waited for my ghost too for this push, but I figured he had to be getting his 4th. And so it made a lot more sense just to push him right there. I'm probably pushing a little bit too aggressively here because I'm having to micro too much. Like as soon as you have to micro a lot, you're probably doing the wrong thing. Unless you're like really high GM. So knowing that, microing there, I'm feeling like I probably should have pulled back a little and just waited for the ghost. So now I'm going to be a little more patient here, even though we pretty much won the game with that push, I think. I'm just going to kind of chill a little bit. Like, yeah, I'm doing this little drop to be annoying, but I'm just going to sit back and build up a bunch of bio. So I see him going for Temple Archives. So because of that, I didn't add on any Vikings right here. Or Liberators. We're just going to stay with the Bio Ghost, since that counters that anyways. Just like general macro stuff, getting our extra Rex, getting some more vision, making sure we can't lose to anything basically. And once we get a little higher in supply, then I'm gonna push. Now if we were playing like no ghost here and had a lot more medevacs and we're just making, you know, lower tier units, then it would have made a lot of sense to keep pushing. Pretty easy fight against the Archons now that we have the Ghost. Honestly, Archons are terrible in this matchup. As long as you get early Ghost and you see them coming, they're just extremely bad. But if you don't get Ghost, then they might seem super imba. It kind of switches the battles really hard there. So now we have a pretty good sized amount of bio. I think I'll be pushing out pretty soon. And this will definitely be the killing blow. Like, I'm going to add some tech behind this, but playing this game, I'm extremely confident we're going to kill the guy now, since our last push denied his 4th. I think it's important to be patient there, though, because you're investing so much at that time into like more barracks and upgrades and all this stuff. So, you know, pushing too fast once you're ahead is a good way to throw the game. And we definitely might have been able to win earlier, but this is just like the safe way to make sure you basically can't lose at all. So I saw him over at his 3rd base. I'm just trying to rotate to find a good angle here. And for some reason, he just like lets me in. I think he thought I was rotating. So he gives me like the best position possible. So I decided to take the fight, get some decent EMPs off, and yeah, his army just completely crumbles. So I think this game gives a lot of insight into, you know, how little you actually need to do with Terran. not to be hard on Terran, I just mean like you don't have to be hyper aggressive all the time. Like, you need to make sure that protoss is playing at a reasonable pace, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be doing like 10 drops at once and also kiting like Maro. So yeah, very straightforward TVP, just keeping up just barely enough pressure to keep protoss in check, and then just, you know, spreading out, getting some good EMPs and A moving basically. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back for more soon. So see you guys in the next one.